I had just placed a bouquet on my parents' grave when a message from my wife came in. "When you get home, you'll understand. And please, don't try to find me." I froze in the middle of the cemetery, light rain soaking through my shoulders. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. My heart was pounding like it was about to tear out of my chest. Just hours ago, I kept telling myself, even if I lose everything else, at least I still have Laura and our daughter. But with a single text, even that last bit of hope shattered. One question screamed in my head. "You walked out on the very day I buried my parents. Was that on purpose, Laura? Or just cruel timing?" I bolted to the car, started the engine, and sped down the slick road like a madman. Every passing minute, an unnamed fear kept clawing at my chest. The door swung open. The house was silent, eerily silent. No sound of my little girl laughing. No smell of Laura's cookies she always baked in the afternoons. The living room was unsettlingly neat. And then I saw it. A brown folder on the table. On top of it, Laura's wedding ring, placed neatly beside our house keys. A folded note with shaky handwriting. "Our daughter and I need somewhere safer. Don't look for me." I stood there stunned. My trembling fingers reached for her ring. Cold. Cold like my parents' hands this morning as I said my final goodbye. A gust of wind slipped through the doorframe, and it hit me. I was standing in my own home, but I had never felt more like a stranger. "My parents just left this world, and now it's you, Laura?" I didn't know then that her message was only the spark that would set off a nightmare and swallow my entire life whole. I used to think I was a lucky man, not because I was rich or brilliant, but because I had Laura. We met one autumn afternoon at a small concert on campus. She was sitting in the third row, her soft brown curls swaying gently to the sound of the piano. I, an awkward engineering student, could only steal glances at her all night, whispering to myself, "That girl, she's sunlight." 3 years later, Laura said yes when I proposed. There was no diamond ring, no fancy house or car. I promised her, "I'm not wealthy, but I'll give you a peaceful life." She smiled, her eyes filled with unshakable trust. The early years of marriage passed quietly, beautifully. I worked as an IT engineer for a small company. Laura taught piano from home. Most mornings, I woke to the sound of her music drifting through the house, and the rich smell of coffee filling our kitchen. Laura loved placing white lilies on the dining table. She said it was because lilies were the first flowers I gave her when we started dating, and that every petal reminded her of the clumsy but genuine engineer she'd fallen for. Then Mia came into our lives. Our little girl had her mother's brown eyes and a smile so bright it melted all my worries away. I called Mia my little ray of light. With her, Laura laughed more often, and our small home was always alive with joy and laughter. But then, I began to notice the changes. Lately, the vase of white lilies on the table stayed empty. I never dared to ask why. Laura often sat in silence, staring out the window, her eyes distant, like she was somewhere far away, beyond my reach. When I hugged her from behind, she didn't pull away, but her body felt tense, so different from the warmth she once gave so easily. I kept telling myself, maybe she's just exhausted, taking care of Mia and teaching all day. So I did the only thing I thought would help. I took on extra freelance projects, hoping a little more money might ease her worries. But the harder I tried, the further apart we seemed to drift. One night, as I was grading students' assignments, I caught a glimpse of Laura on her phone, typing, her fingers moving quickly. Her cheeks were faintly flushed, her eyes glowing in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. I teased her, "What's got you smiling like that?" Laura flinched. She quickly locked her phone and forced a smile. "Oh, just a parent texting me about lessons." I chuckled softly, not wanting to sound suspicious. But deep down, a small voice whispered, if I had asked her more that night, maybe things would have been different. I didn't realize. Laura was already slipping away from me, little by little. The little changes didn't stop there. Laura started going out more often. At first, she said it was to shop for her piano classes. Then came the coffee with friends, parent-teacher meetings, and professional workshops. Every time Laura stepped out the door, I kept telling myself, she deserves her own space. Don't be paranoid, Jack. But deep down, something uneasy crept in. A vague, gnawing fear, as if something was about to collapse, and I was too weak to face it. One night, while tidying up the living room, I accidentally kicked Laura's tote bag. A perfume bottle rolled out. Its scent, unfamiliar, something I'd never seen her use before. The label read, jasmine and vanilla. Not lavender, the scent Laura had always loved. I held the bottle in my hand, brought it closer, inhaled. A strange feeling washed over me, cold and sharp, like ice running down my spine. When did Laura start changing her habits? The next day, I casually asked, "You got a new perfume?" Laura froze for a split second, then nodded. "Oh, yeah. My student said this one suits me better." She smiled, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. From that moment on, I started noticing more. Her beige suitcase, the one she usually used when visiting her parents, had been taken out and carefully cleaned. One time, as I opened it by chance, I found a small scrap of paper tucked between her clothes. On it scribbled hastily, "Bluebird, Friday, 8 p.m." I wanted to ask Laura about it, but the words got stuck in my throat. Part of me was terrified of the answer. And maybe I should have asked. Perhaps I was too afraid of the truth, so I chose silence instead. But silence can be crueler than betrayal. Then came the blow with my parents. They were in a car accident, on their way to Mia's 6th birthday party. The crash shattered what was left of my family. I lost the only pillars holding me up. In the days after the funeral, Laura still cared for Mia and me, with quiet dedication. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Her eyes looked different when she gazed at me, no longer warm. Was it pity? Or something else I couldn't name? One late night, after finishing a work report, I thought about texting Laura to say I missed her. But when I opened the chat app, I saw she was online, yet hadn't replied to the message I'd sent 2 hours earlier. I set my phone down on the desk, staring at the dark, empty room around me. When Laura smiles now, I can't tell if it's meant for me or for someone else. I didn't realize those changes were warnings. Warnings of a storm about to tear apart everything I ever loved. Everything started to fall apart on a Friday night. That evening, Laura said she'd be late for a parent-teacher meeting. I didn't think much of it. I just reminded her to drive safely and text me when she got home. But by 9 p.m., my phone was still silent. I called her, only to hear the cold, robotic voice. "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable." The message I sent showed delivered, but there was no reply. I tried to stay calm. Maybe she's busy. Maybe her phone died. But when I checked the clock again, it was 10 p.m. I couldn't sit still anymore. I paced around the living room. The dim yellow light cast a dull haze over everything, like a layer of dust suffocating the house. The vase of white lilies on the table remained empty. The silence was so thick, I could hear the tick-tock of the wall clock slicing into me, each sound like a blade. I picked up my phone and called again. Still nothing. A notification ping shattered the stillness. A message from an unknown number. "Want to know why Laura's avoiding you? Go to Bluebird Cafe, 8 p.m. tomorrow." My chest tightened. I read the message again and again, searching for any clue. Bluebird. The name matched the slip of paper I once found in Laura's suitcase. I sank into the couch, my mind spinning. Part of me wanted to delete the message and pretend I'd never seen it. But another part whispered, "If you don't find out, how will you ever know the truth? Maybe I shouldn't go to Bluebird, but if I don't, I'll never know when I really lost Laura." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the slow, relentless ticking of the clock, each tick a knife dragging across my chest. Mia slept soundly beside me, her tiny face soft and innocent. I gently brushed her hair and whispered, "No matter what happens, I'll protect you." But deep inside, another question echoed. And Laura, does she even need me to protect her anymore? The next morning, I got up early and made coffee out of habit. But the cup sat untouched, going cold on the table. I couldn't swallow a single sip. At 10 a.m., Laura finally sent a short text. "I'll be home late. Don't call." I stared at those words for a long time. No explanation. No, how are you? No mention of Mia. Just cold. The rest of the day, I drifted like a ghost. Every ring of the phone, every knock at the door made me flinch. I kept trying to piece together reasons for Laura's changes. But the more I thought, the louder the storm inside me grew. And then, like shards of glass, the scattered details started to cut deeper. The unfamiliar perfume. The suitcase, cleaned and ready. The note, Bluebird. 8 p.m. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the slightest gust of wind to send me over. That night, I sent Mia to her grandmother's house. Then I drove to Bluebird. The cafe sat tucked away in a narrow alley, its soft yellow light spilling faintly onto the street. I stepped inside. The rich scent of roasted coffee hit me. Soft jazz floated from a corner, blending with the quiet clinking of spoons and cups. In the far corner, a young man sat alone, a baseball cap pulled low to hide half his face. When he saw me, he lifted his head. His sharp, cold eyes made my skin crawl. He gestured for me to sit. His voice was low, rough-edged. "You know Laura doesn't love you anymore, don't you?" My heart turned to ice. Before I could respond, he slid a thick envelope across the table. I opened it, and my hands started shaking violently. Inside were photos of Laura, holding another man in her arms. And Mia clutching the man's hand like he was her real father. It felt like someone reached inside me and crushed my heart in their fist. If this was real, then my entire life up to now had been nothing but a lie. It felt like someone was squeezing the life out of my heart. My trembling hands placed the photo back on the table. Laura, in the arms of another man, and Mia, clutching his hand, beaming like he was her real father. Behind them, a small park bathed in the crimson glow of autumn leaves. I clenched my fists so tight, my nails dug into my palms, sending sharp pain shooting up my arms. My mind spun. I couldn't tell if the sound in my ears was the soft jazz playing in the cafe, or my own heart pounding out of control. The man across from me calmly sipped his coffee. "I'm sorry," he said, "but you need to know the truth." I looked up at him, my voice hoarse. "Who are you? Why do you have these photos?" He gave me a faint smile, a cold, unsettling smile that sent a chill down my spine. "I'm someone who's been through pain like yours. Trust me, she's not the woman you think she is." I wanted to fire back, but my throat tightened. 1,000 questions screamed in my mind. Where was this? Why is Mia so close to that man? And Laura, that look in her eyes, that's the way she used to look at me. My voice trembled as I asked, "What do you want?" "Nothing," he said flatly. "I just don't want you living in a lie any longer." He slid another piece of paper toward me. "An address. Hillcrest Apartment, room 507. If you want to see them, go there." I stared at the paper, my hand crushing it until it crumpled in my palm. Part of me wanted to throw it away, rush home, hold my daughter, and pretend everything was still okay. But another part whispered, "If this is real, I need to know." I gripped the door handle, a voice in my head screaming, "If you open it, you'll never be the same again." As I drove to Hillcrest, Mia's face flashed in my mind. Lately, she'd been tired, coughing at night. Laura said it was just a cold. But I remembered that one time Laura called someone, her voice shaking. "I'm scared Mia won't make it." I shook my head, pushing the thought away. "No, don't let guilt make you weak, Jack." But deep inside, a gnawing fear flared up. What if Laura really is inside, and she's already chosen to leave me? I took a deep breath and knocked on the door to room 507. It cracked open. The man from the photos stood there, freezing when he saw me. He was tall, his eyes calm but watchful. "You're Jack?" "Yes." "Where's Laura?" He sighed softly, stepped back, and called over his shoulder. "Laura, someone's here to see you." Laura appeared. She wore a thin sweater, her face pale and weary. But her eyes widened the moment they met mine. "Jack, how did you know I was here?" I stepped into the room, my eyes scanning the space. On the sofa, Mia was asleep, her innocent little face tightening the knot in my chest. "You left home to be here with him?" My voice broke. Laura stood silent for a long moment, then whispered, "No, Jack, it's not what you think." I snapped, my voice rising. "Not what I think. You were in his arms. You took Mia away without a word. Am I even your husband anymore, Laura?" Laura burst into tears, her shoulders trembling. "I did it because I'm scared of losing our daughter." The other man spoke up, his voice low but firm. "I'm a doctor. Mia, she's carrying a hereditary condition from your family. Laura left because she's trying to save your child." I froze. A ringing filled my ears. The room spun around me. If this was the truth, then all this time, it was me. It was me who'd unknowingly driven my family to the edge. I stood frozen in the middle of the room. Every sound seemed to vanish, leaving only the deafening thud of my heart pounding in my chest. Mia, carrying a hereditary disease from my family? Why have I never heard of this? Laura sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. The doctor looked at me with an expression that was equal parts calm and pity. I know this is a lot to take in, but Mia needs treatment urgently. We don't have much time, Jack. I struggled to stay upright, my voice breaking. What disease? Why didn't I know? Laura looked up, her eyes bloodshot and glistening. I was going to tell you, but then your parents died. You fell apart, Jack. You shut down completely. I was scared that if I told you then, it would destroy you. Images came rushing back like a film reel, spinning in reverse. Me burying myself in work. Coming home late night after night. Laura holding Mia, asleep on the sofa. Her weary eyes following me. And me, too afraid to reach out. Was it me? Did I drive Laura to this? I clenched my fists, fighting to swallow the anger rising in my chest. You were going to let me be the last damn man on earth to know my own daughter's dying? Laura shot up from the chair, her eyes burning. You think that's what I wanted? Where were you, Jack, when I was breaking down in hospital corridors? When I had to sign dozens of surgical consent forms alone? Were you there, or did you die along with your parents? Her words hit like a blade, twisting deep in my chest. I stumbled back, choking on the lump in my throat. I have every right to be angry, but if I hesitate now, I'll lose Mia forever. The doctor placed a thick folder on the table in front of me. Inside were test results, diagnostic charts, and pages of treatment plans. If we don't start soon, Mia's life will be in serious danger. I flipped through the pages. The words swam before my eyes. My hands trembled. My throat felt like it was closing. Laura stepped closer, her small, cold hands gripping mine. Jack, I know you hate me, but please, for Mia's sake, put her above everything else. I looked into her eyes. There was fear there, but beneath it, a flicker of love still holding on. And in that moment, the anger melted away, leaving only one question. Can we save her? Then, Laura's phone buzzed on the table. On the screen, a man's name appeared. It wasn't the doctor. I looked at her, my voice dropping to a chilling whisper. That name? Who is he, Laura? Laura flinched when she saw the name flashing on her screen. She quickly flipped the phone face down on the table. But it was too late. I had already seen it. David, 3 missed calls. I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. Who is he? Laura's lips pressed into a thin line. Her eyes darted away, avoiding mine. Jack, please, let me explain. There's nothing left to explain. My words came out like ice. You hid Mia's condition from me. And now this? Another man? Laura broke down, sobs spilling out like a dam bursting. David is a doctor. He's the only one who can help Mia. A dry, bitter laugh escaped my throat, echoing in the heavy silence of the room. And how convenient. He's also your ex, isn't he? Laura froze. Her lips trembled before she finally nodded. Yes, but that was over a long time ago. I slammed my fist into the wall so hard it left a deep dent. Blood seeped from my knuckles, but I felt nothing, nothing except the firestorm raging in my chest. You expect me to believe you? After all the things you've kept from me? Laura lifted her head, her tear-streaked face hardening, her voice sharp and defiant. You think I wanted to keep it from you? Do you remember those nights I stayed awake, terrified for Mia? When I begged you to come home early and take her to the hospital? Where were you, Jack? Were you even alive, or did you die with your parents? I don't know anymore who the stranger is in this story, Laura, David, or me. The doctor, silent until now, finally spoke. His voice was deep and steady. Jack, you can hate me, but your hatred won't save Mia. If you want her to have a chance, we need to work together. I spun around, my eyes blazing. Work together? With the man who once slept with my wife? David didn't flinch. His gaze stayed locked on mine, unwavering. You have every right to despise me, but don't let your pride kill your daughter. I stood frozen, his words cutting through me like a blade. Anger, jealousy, pain, and an overwhelming terror churned inside me, threatening to swallow me whole. Laura stepped forward. Her voice cracked, but her eyes burned with fierce resolve. If you can't set aside your hatred, I'll save Mia on my own. You can hate me for the rest of your life, Jack, but I will not let her die. I looked at Laura, then at David, and finally at Mia, sleeping on the sofa, her little face flushed from a low-grade fever, her shallow breaths scraping against my soul. I buried my head in my hands, hot tears sliding down my cheeks. I've never felt this weak in my entire life. But if I lose Mia, I lose everything. Laura's phone buzzed again. The same name lit up the screen. David. I gripped the phone, my voice raw and shaking. Get the in the end, sheesh. Give me the phone. David's eyes locked on mine, calm but unrelenting. Jack, this isn't about you and me anymore. This is about your daughter's life. I've never hated anyone as much as I hate this man. But right now, the man I hate most is the only one who can save my daughter. I never thought there'd come a day when I'd have to place my daughter's life in the hands of the man I despised most. David looked at me, his gaze steady yet cold. Jack, you need to decide now. Mia doesn't have much time left. I turned to Laura. Her fists were clenched so tightly, her knuckles were white, and her lips were pressed together until they bled. In her eyes, I saw despair, but also a fierce glimmer that sent a chill down my spine. If you can't trust me, then trust the love you have for her. I stepped closer and knelt down beside Mia. She was sleeping soundly, her shallow, wheezing breaths slicing into my chest like tiny knives. I gently stroked her soft hair. Her tiny hand curled loosely around my finger, as if pleading, Daddy, don't let me go. A single hot tear slipped down my cheek and landed on hers. Mia, I'm so sorry. I wasn't there for you when you needed me most. I stood up, took a deep breath, and spun toward David. I'll cooperate, but if anything happens to Mia, I swear I'll destroy you. David nodded, his expression darkening. You have every right to hate me, but your hatred won't save your daughter. Laura stepped forward, reaching for my hand. But I pulled away, my voice hoarse. Don't thank me. We're doing this, not for you. For Mia. I chose to trust them. But deep down, a voice kept whispering, if they betray me again, I'll lose everything. The next day, we brought Mia to the large hospital where David worked. The air was cold and sterile, the sharp scent of disinfectant clinging to my nose. Each step we took echoed in the long hallway, like it was leading our family closer to the edge of a cliff. David murmured something to Laura as he wheeled Mia toward the exam room. I saw Laura nod, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I grabbed Laura's arm before she could follow him. What are you two hiding from me? Laura turned away, her voice breaking. Jack, don't let doubt creep in now. Please, trust me. Trust you, I growled. Like the way you hid Mia's illness? Like the way you kept David from me? Laura spun back around, her eyes blazing. You think I wanted to go to my ex? I begged him because of our daughter, Jack. You think this doesn't rip me apart every second? I froze. In that moment, Laura was no longer the fragile woman I once knew. She was a mother, fighting for her child with everything she had left. On David's desk was a photo of Mia as a newborn. But I'd never given him that picture. I froze in place, staring at the photo on David's desk. Mia, just a few weeks old, wrapped in the pink blanket only our family owned. Why does he have this photo? Did Laura give it to him? Or has David had it all along? Laura stepped in, her eyes catching mine locked on the picture. She froze. Her lips began to tremble. Jack, let me explain. Explain what? I roared, my hands clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. How many secrets have you kept from me, Laura? Mia, is she even my daughter? Laura broke down, collapsing to the floor in tears. Don't say that, Jack, she's ours. I swear to you. David entered. He didn't look surprised to see me holding the photo. He simply placed a hand on the desk, his voice low but razor sharp. Jack, if you're ready to listen, I'll tell you the truth. I spun around, my eyes blazing with fury. Say it. What truth? That you've been watching my family all this time? Or that you're Mia's real father? Laura choked out a sob, her hands clutching at my shirt. No, please don't do this. I went to David back then for our daughter, Jack. Only for her. David took a deep breath, his gaze darkening. That year, when Laura was pregnant, your family opposed her so violently she had nowhere to go. She left and came to me. My fists tightened until my nails dug into my palms, sharp pain slicing into my skin. My throat burned as I forced the words out. And then what happened? Laura screamed, her eyes bloodshot but blazing with resolve. Nothing happened. You think I wanted to see him again? I had no choice, Jack. I staggered back, my head spinning. Beyond the glass of the exam room, Mia lay, small and fragile, like an angel. Her breaths shallow and labored. I could lose everything if I don't let go of this hatred. I clenched my jaw and looked David straight in the eye. Save Mia. But know this, if anything happens to her, you'll never find peace. David nodded, his expression like ice. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for Mia." At that moment, the exam room doors burst open. A doctor rushed out, panic in his voice. Her heart just stopped. It felt like the entire world collapsed around me. Everything went black. Mia, does she still have a chance? Everything around me felt like it was sinking into a thick, suffocating void. Through the glass of the ICU, I saw Mia's tiny body. Tubes and wires snaked around her, machines beeping in a steady, lifeless rhythm that pounded into my chest like a hammer. Laura had collapsed onto a cold plastic chair. Her hands were clasped so tightly, her knuckles bled. Her pale face stared blankly at the closed door, her eyes void of life. David leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He didn't say a word. But it was that silence, the kind that pressed down on me, that made it impossible to breathe. If Mia doesn't make it, I'll hate the world. I'll hate Laura. I'll hate David. And I'll hate myself most of all. Heavy footsteps broke the suffocating stillness. A young doctor rushed out, his face tense. "We managed to restart her heart. She's in a deep coma, but there's still hope." His words were like a fragile thread pulling me back from the edge of the abyss. I sank into a chair, my hands trembling as I buried my face in them. Laura broke down in sobs, her shoulders shaking violently. She reached out toward me, but I leaned away. "Jack, I'm sorry. This is all my fault." I didn't respond. The same question kept twisting deeper into my mind. If she hadn't kept this from me, would things have ever come to this? Suddenly, Laura grabbed my hand. Her tear-streaked eyes burned with a fierce determination. "You can hate me, but don't let that hatred destroy her. I've endured enough, Jack. Don't make Mia suffer anymore." David stepped forward, resting a hand gently on Laura's shoulder.
"She needs掉泪. Dash."
"And so do you, Jack." I looked up, my eyes locking on David's. A flicker of anger flared. "You've been here long enough. Stop pretending you care about my family." David stayed silent for a moment before replying, his voice low and steady. "One day, Jack, you might understand. Sometimes the man you hate most is the one who saved what was left of you." He turned and walked away, his tall frame fading down the long corridor. I don't know if I still have it in me to hold this family together, or if it's time to let go. Laura turned to me, her voice trembling. "Do you still want us to be a family?" I clenched my fists, my eyes fixed on the blindingly white tile floor. Inside me, waves of love and hatred crashed violently against each other like a raging sea. I didn't answer. Maybe silence is the only way to stop us both from breaking apart again. The steady beep of the heart monitor echoed from the brightly lit room behind the glass. I sat motionless, my bloodshot eyes locked on Mia's tiny hand, pierced by delicate threads of IV lines burrowed into her fragile skin. Laura sat across from me, her fingers clasped so tightly they'd begun to bleed. On the table between us lay one of Mia's crayon drawings, a child's sketch of her parents holding hands, wide, round smiles drawn on their faces. I couldn't remember the last time Laura and I held hands. "Jack, do you still hate me?" Laura's voice cracked, trembling like she was about to break apart. I looked up, my weary eyes meeting hers. "Hating you won't save our daughter." Laura broke down, tears spilling freely. She reached her hand out toward me, but I leaned away. "If you don't love me anymore, I understand. But don't let her lose her father too, Jack. Just for one day, let her feel like this family still exists. How deeply did I used to love this woman? And why now do we feel like strangers?" I don't know which is more terrifying, losing Laura or losing myself entirely. David stepped forward, resting a hand on Laura's shoulder, his voice calm but heavy. "Nanyim. She needs rest. And Jack, so do you." I turned toward him, my eyes flashing with anger. "You've been here long enough. Stop pretending you care about my family." David didn't flinch. His face remained unnervingly calm. "Jack, there are things in life you don't need to forgive. As long as she lives, we're all right." He walked away, his tall frame fading into the cold, sterile hallway. Laura let out a small sob, whispering, as if to herself, "If one day you understand, all I ask is that you don't hate me forever." I lowered my head, my fists clenched so tight they turned white. Inside me, waves of rage and fear clashed like a stormy sea. The steady beeping of the heart monitor echoed from behind the glass. But between Laura and me, Only silence remained, stretching endlessly into the void. I never thought I'd find myself in this room, with empty hands, not knowing whether to hold on or let go. Mia has made it through the worst. She sleeps peacefully in the hospital bed now, her cheeks tinged with color, her breathing steady. Her tiny hand twitched slightly, as if trying to grasp a fragile thread still tying us to this world. On the table beside her, my wedding ring lay there, cold, lifeless. I can't remember the last time I took it off. And I can't remember the last time Laura and I held hands either. Laura sat in the corner of the room. Her face was swollen from crying, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but still fixed on Mia. She caught my gaze for a fleeting moment, hesitated, then spoke softly. "If you don't love me anymore, I understand. But don't let her think her parents never tried." Her voice quivered at the end, but there was an uncanny steadiness in her eyes. I turned away, staring at the golden light of sunset spilling down the hospital corridor. Out there, other men held their wives close, their children laughing carefree. I once had it all, and almost lost everything. David never came back after that day. Before leaving, he'd said only one thing. "Jack, there are things in life you don't need to forgive. As long as she lives, we're all right." That line kept echoing in my mind, over and over, like a voice bouncing off the walls of an empty room. I stepped closer and sat by Mia's bed. Taking her tiny hand in mine, I listened to the steady beep of the heart monitor, harsh and cold, yet the only sound keeping me grounded. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I wasn't there when you needed me most. But from today on, I'll never leave you again." Laura watched me, her lips moving slightly, but no words coming out. I didn't look back. Inside me, the rage, the love, the guilt all swirled together into a hollow, icy void. Turns out, the hardest thing isn't forgiving or hating. It's choosing to stay, when your heart has already shattered. Mia is alive, but between Laura and me, what has already died?